This is the African climate change strategy. It has been under development for some years now. Initial work on the strategy, in fact, started around 2011 at the request of the African Ministerial Conference on Environment. The African Climate Policy Center has been leading the analytical work which informs the strategy in terms of firstly establishing the conceptual and institutional basis for the strategy, but also in the sense of creating a justification for the strategy and establishing how the strategy itself is going to coordinate and unite Africa's response to the climate challenge.
Apart from approximately 20 people that we had here physically, we had about 500 people actually who registered online to participate online virtually. And mind you, here we are only looking at Southern and Eastern Africa. Those are the stakeholders that we are engaging. So we had people from civil society organizations, governments, academia, youth groups, women and so forth, who obviously also wanted to make sure that their views are captured in the strategy. And I feel that's actually a commendable job.
The organizers tried to make this as inclusive as possible, and they tried to include everyone, pulling around experts from around the continent, right? We would have breakaway groups where we had to assign each other tasks on reviewing the document and offer recommendations.
Following this meeting, we are very optimistic. There was active engagement from all the participants, both the ones participating virtually and those who are in Nairobi in person. We got quite a good amount of insights, recommendations for change. Most were happy with the draft as it was, and if we keep the same kind of energy as we move to the other regions, the Western and the Northern Africa and Central, I'm sure we'll have a draft that will be acceptable to the continent.
We hope the strategy, once it is adopted, it will contribute to the architecture of climate change and the work of development in Africa. It will contribute to the achievement of the aspirations of the blueprint of the African Union, which is Agenda 2063. That is really our hope, and we'll be able to reach and achieve the goals that are set out in the high-level strategic approach, which is Agenda 2063.
I was expecting specifically from this workshop to have adequate input to enrich the document. That is one. The second expectation I was having is also like all the member states, the regional blocks, the commission itself, the different wing of the commission, civil society organization, so that they could be able to contribute their part in the document. So at the end of the day, it participates all relevant stakeholders so that they can own the document and contribute also for the implementation. So in that sense, those are, I think, my key expectations: to provide input, refine the document, enrich the document. Second is to ensure that all key stakeholders participate and provide impact.
So that will be in the last 10 or so years, Africa has become very active. There are a lot of young scientists coming on, a lot of diplomats, a lot of different disciplines which they enrich the negotiation for the African groups. And sometimes African groups is getting the lead over other groups in climate change negotiations.
Hopefully the editors who will take over the cleaning up of the document will do a good job building on our efforts. And I'm confident that this document will be properly contributed to by many stakeholders in the area that the strategy is addressing.
We are going to have a good report, and I think from there it can be taken to have at least a semi-final one to be distributed to the member states so that to comment on, and then after receiving the comments we can have a final and a living document which will help Africa in the issue of climate change.